When we started this project, we didn't so much look at the target, we looked at a philosophy. And our philosophy was that we wanted to improve the entertainment we give to our customers. Naturally, we were very ambitious, but I think the 2021 car is a culmination of more research than has ever been put into the design of a future Formula One car, and I think we will ultimately provide a really good product.
But I think the most important thing is we've created an infrastructure to keep pushing these regulations forward and keep pushing the evolution of Formula One. There simply wasn't an organisation, there was a vacuum. The teams were doing all the development of the cars, but there was no development of the sport, and that's what we've set up.
So we want to improve the ability of cars to follow each other and to overtake each other. We want to improve the financials of Formula One to make the sport more sustainable financially. We want to have good-looking cars, spectacular cars, and we also want to address environmental concerns. So all of these targets put together have defined what we're doing for 2021.
Presently, it gets close to another car, it can lose almost half of its performance. Under new regulations, it's maintaining 80–90% of its performance. And a few cars away, it's got almost 100% of its performance. So it's a dramatic change.
Now, of course, those numbers may get eroded a little bit as the teams develop the downforce rather than the following characteristics that we've been working on. But even if they get eroded a little bit, we're still going to have a car that is much, much more raceable than the current car.
With an increased number of races, I think we need to look at how we rationalise a race weekend. We've got Vietnam next year, which is very exciting. We're going back to Holland. Can we evolve a more attractive format of racing over the weekend with absolutely no impact on the quality of racing? But one of the things that's really come across by being much closer to the fans is the battle between the drivers. That's what they really get excited about. They relate to the drivers, and they'll be more capable of doing that with these new regulations. The cars will be closer, they'll be able to race each other much more effectively. And I think the objective in all of this is that we still have the special teams in Formula One, the Ferraris, the Mercedes, the Red Bulls. But on a good day, with the right driver, then they can be beaten.
I went and visited the teams, we talked about what we wanted to do, we talked about what their current problems were with the design of the cars that we're racing at the moment. And then all the way along, we've kept them involved in our decisions, particularly in the aerodynamics, where we've set up an aerodynamic working group which involved all the teams. We've even had the teams working with us on doing the actual research using computational fluid dynamics. So a lot of involvement all the way along.
This has been a very useful process. Clearly, not all teams have the same views on matters. They have different considerations, different business models. So we have had to filter those inputs and to make sure we select what's best for the sport.
The commercial right holders need to sell the show, and the governing body, the FIA, need to legislate and regulate the show. But of course, we could not do that without the teams. We could not do that without the drivers. We could not do that without the circuit designers, with the tire suppliers, with all the stakeholders, with the engine suppliers. So nothing has been left uncovered.
These financial regulations will come in place for 21. We're having a dry run in 20. There's a very strong, very major difference between the funding the top teams get out of the prize fund and the funding the lesser teams get out of the prize fund. We're going to tip that table and make it far more fair. The advantage the team has, because it used to have a massive budget in the past, will be gone. We think if we do that, the sport will be far more exciting. The top teams will, in reality, still have the extra resource and capacity to have this first go at these regulations. But then I think after that, we'll see a convergence of the cars.
It's a very important first step, and it is, the acceptance of a new principle in motorsport. Clearly, the cost cap will affect the three biggest teams. We want to come one day to a situation where it will concern everybody. But the first step was important, I would say even essential.
Our engines are incredibly efficient, and the technologies that we have employed in our engines, not just in the current power unit, but going back many years, have really been the leaders into the very efficient engines that we have in road cars these days. But I think we can go much further, and I think we must go much further.
I'm optimistic that we can find other ways of addressing environment and pollution. We have initiated very intense work, and we have new fuels.
Our targets of the look of the car were really based around the aerodynamics, without losing that sort of DNA of the open wheel, open cockpit Formula One car that we've known for so many years.
And in fact, we've ended up with a very elegant solution, an exciting, fast-looking car, but still keeping the cars individual, and I think it'll appeal to a lot of fans.
One of the objectives of these regulations has been to make cars able to overtake each other and to follow each other much more closely. We feel that's important for the overall spectacle. Current generation cars have a wake that is very damaging for the following car. So we've been studying ways that will enable the wake of the front car to be pushed upwards so that when the rear car is following, it sees cleaner flow. And that involves readdressing all the structures of the aerodynamic flow around the car.
And that's what the drivers were complaining about. The drivers are saying as soon as we get close to another car, our tyres go off, they overheat, we can't follow for more than a lap or two.
I consider that we have a unique opportunity to be a game changer in motor racing, starting with Formula One.